everybody, Dr. Rick Wallace here. I want to drop in on you and talk to you a little bit. I know I didn't drop in this morning with 5 Minutes of Fire. I'll be back tomorrow with at least one segment of that. You can definitely check out more than your share of inspirational video content on my YouTube channel for the Visionetics Institute. But what I want to share with you today is a little secret, a little peek inside of the world that is you from a different perspective. Have you ever just had a situation where you looked at your reality, you didn't like it, and no matter what you sit up and said, you wanted to change it, you wanted to do it, you wanted to become, you kept experiencing pretty much the same reality. And you probably are sitting up and you're asking yourself and you're wondering, why is this, like this? Why is it that I know there's something better? Why is it that I know I can do more, but yet I continue to get the same results? And the reality of it is that there's a lot of truth to the idea that as a man thinks, so is he. But we don't really truly understand it. We say it all the time. We say your thoughts are seeds of your destiny. As a man thinks, so is he. Control your thoughts, control your destiny. You hear all of these catchphrases, but how many have ever stepped back to really understand a process that leads to it? Basically, what we know is that 96 to 98% of our behavior is non-conscious. It's natural. It's instinctive. It's automatic. It's a part of our thinking process, but not our conscious. It's a subconscious, non-conscious reactionary, instinctive behavior that we do without ever even thinking every day. We make unconscious decisions every day of our lives that we don't give any consideration to, or we never examine when we're trying to understand why we are living a life we don't want to live. Basically, by the time you're 35, 95% of who you are a memorized set of behaviors, unconscious habits, emotional reactions, hardwired attitudes, beliefs, perceptions that all work together to function like a computer program. So basically, you are hardwired and conditioned and trained from a physiological, neurological, spiritualogical, and emotional perspective to behave a certain way. This has happened to you and developed in you over the course of your entire life. The older you are, the more ingrained you are and set in a certain way of behaving. Simply sitting up and saying, this is not what I'm going to do, this is what I'm going to do, is not going to reverse this conditioned behavior. You've literally got to re-upload. You got to clean your desk, re-upload, understand what you need to do and change it. And I'm just sitting up and imagine this. I'm going to give you another way of looking at it. And I kind of wrote down a couple of things because I get to going and I'll get on one topic and move to something else and I don't cover what I really want to cover. So look at it this way. We know now that when we combine the conscious mind and the subconscious mind, the conscious brain and unconscious brain, that we entertain roughly anywhere from 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts a day. Now, all of those aren't on the surface. All of those aren't something you are cognizant of. Most of it takes place underneath. But all of these thoughts have seed, have power, have influence on who we are. The thing is, if I believe that my thoughts are the seeds of my destiny, my thoughts are the creators of my reality, and then I understand that I'm having 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day. And from what we gather in scientific data, the vast majority of these thoughts are the same. So you're having the same 50,000 to 70,000 thoughts every day, and your thoughts control your destiny. If you never introduce new thinking, if you never examine new paradigms, if you never open your mind to new possibilities, and you continuously run these same 50 to 70,000 thoughts over and over in your mind, each day inculcating them even deeper into your psyche, Why are you surprised that you're consistently getting the same result? If you are sitting up understanding that what you think produces your reality, and you haven't changed your thinking, you haven't begun a process of evolution in your thought processes to where you are no longer entertaining the same, because what you do, the same thoughts every day is going to produce the same behavior, the same habits, the same choices, the same situation, the same results, the same emotional responses that work to lock in the behavior that you repeat. So what happens normally is somebody has a situation that they know, this is not what I want. Or, it could be you're tired of choosing the wrong guy. You're tired of choosing the wrong woman. You're tired of living paycheck to paycheck. You're tired of whatever. So you say, this is not how I'm going to live. I'm going to do this. That's what you want. Now, you've done a good thing, because when you say this is not what you want and you want to do something else that you mentioned is a new intention. But what most people do is focus on what they don't want instead of the new intention. So when focusing on what you don't want, you consistently are taken back into old memories. And as long as you're experiencing and revisiting old memories, you're never going to be able to truly engage future possibilities. And the thing is, most people live out of their past. They wake up every day and they start their thought processes living in their past. They start, everything that you engage is based on past experiences. How you interpret what's in front of you right now is on past experiences. The best way to change your future is to create it. The best way to predict your future is to create it. It is not to sit up and think that you can work with what you had in the past using the same thinking to create a different result. You can say it over and over again that insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. But it proves that you haven't truly understood it if you're consistently doing the same thing, expecting different results. So if I want different results, I've got to purposely, from a conscious state, move into a position of knowing myself, knowing what thoughts I entertain that I shouldn't, knowing what thoughts that work against me, knowing the movements in the thought process as these 50 to 70,000 thoughts per day move through my mind, what part of it is working against me. Now, this state of being, of knowing thyself, has been a philosophical idea for millennium, but now we call it meta-cognition. It means that I know myself. It means that I am consistently aware and consciously arresting ideas and thoughts that don't belong in my program. I am reprogramming myself to think and create for the future instead of living in the past. Because what when you say living in the past, I mean that every beliefs create behavior. When you engage something, you engage the vast majority of what you're doing from an instinctive, automatic, predisposed function. Very little of what you do actually comes from your conscious behavior. When you hear a shot in your vicinity, you don't stop and calculate consciously what just happened. You immediately flinch. Your body understands and recognizes it. Your body really has way more control over you than you think. So your body expects it, not your brain, your body. Literally, a lot of us are living out our body. A lot of us allow our bodies to control everything because our bodies have memories too. We don't realize that. We experience the vast majority of trauma in our bodies. And so when we have traumatic memory of bad situations that caused us harm, we experience it in our body first. Matter of fact, little things that happen to the body can re-trigger trauma. And you'll relive it as if you were in it again because you haven't taken back the sovereignty and control over your body. Your body is still controlling. Your body is still controlling everything that you're doing from an instinctive perspective. So what has to happen? What I have to be able to do, if I want to change some things, I got to be aware of what's flowing underneath the current. See, we think about everything that happens on the surface. That's the conscious. That's like 4% or less of who we are. The vast majority of the frozen ideas, the concrete and established mechanisms of attitude, reactionary responses, and so many other things that are part of who we are, that just simply come from these ideas that we create over time based on how we interpret certain events that become memories. For every situation, like for every situation you get, every situation, every circumstance, every category, if you got a problem with finance, there are memories associated with those, with that idea of finance that create your understanding and how you're going to react to any financial situation. And if you don't revisit those, starve them, change the interpretation, and create new ones, these memories, which are stored in these neurological networks in your mind, neuroreceptors that store these memories, that automatically, I mean immediately, somebody tell you, look, you can get the car for blank amount of dollars per month. And based on your response, it's like, man, I really want this car, but that's this and that's this. Based on, and you're already gone, your mind's went. And if it's a car you really want, but the numbers don't seem right based on your memories, your heart's racing fast, cortisol is being released into the body, adrenaline's being released into the body, serotonin starts to shut down, dopamine starts to shut down, things start to constrict, you start to go into a panic attack, and before you know it, you haven't given one real true thought and from a critical perspective. Everything that you've done has been automatic and instinctive and doesn't work to whether or not you're making the best decision. So one or two things, you can make two bad decisions here. You can sit up and say, no, I'm not going to do it, because your past is speaking to your future capabilities. So because this number was horrible in the past, it's going to be horrible in the future. So you pass on it, or because you're more emotionally attached to the car than you are to reason, you go out and jump into something that you don't need, but none of it is based on what you're looking into the future. Everything, and if you don't wake up with new ideas, with new thoughts that focus on the future, that take and recreate and reshape your idea of the future, you're going to wake up being controlled by your past. And then you're going to be left to being controlled by the feelings that you get in your body. Your body has feelings based on realities. If you've ever lost someone real close to you, that was a feeling you experienced in your body. From the scent, the taste, the feeling, how your muscles reacted. Did you get weak? Did you get tense? Did you seize up? Whatever it is. And when you consistently go into those modes without reshaping and creating new ideas, your body takes over. And you are making decisions based off that feeling. If it's a bad feeling, you know it by now because you've experienced it over and over again. Every time your body gives you a bad feeling, you immediately do whatever you need to do to relieve that bad feeling, even if it's not working for you. Sometimes you need to feel that discomfort in order to get through that moment, but you won't let it. You are too busy running from the discomfort because your body has created this mechanism that reminds you of what it used to feel like when you went through it. You don't want to go through it anymore. But the problem is, this is a new chance, a new opportunity, a new reality that you're going to have to engage if you want to get through it. Now, I'm really abbreviating a lot of this. There's a lot of depth to understanding this, but the idea I'm trying to get to you is you cannot use the same thinking that you've been using that's gotten you where you are and expect to get somewhere distinctively different. You can get mad at me, you can get upset with me, you can disagree with me, but I guarantee you, if you spent the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years doing the same thing and you pretty much have the same results, what are the chances that tomorrow that same behavior, that same thinking is going to produce for you something totally antithetical to what you've been getting? It's not going to happen. So the only way that you're going to do it is you're going to have to change the programming. You're going to have to purposefully and intentfully change the programming. And what I'm going to tell you is going to be uncomfortable because your thinking is a part of your identity. Your thinking controls your behavior. Everything that you do now every day is comfortable for you because you've done it so long. Now, while the consequences may not be what you want, doing it is comfortable because that's what you've always done. A lot of you are doing what mom and dad did. A lot of you are doing what was passed down from generation to generation. And what you don't realize is you're not living in mom and dad's time. You're not living in grandma and grandpa's time. The things that work for them may not work for you. And what you got to do is take the principal idea of advancement and then look at a new strategy, new idea based on where you are. I was talking to a client earlier this morning, and I was explaining that back when my parents were rearing me, and I was reared by my great-grandparents, so I'm talking about children who were literally share farmers and worked. You know, my great-grandmother worked in a sawmill camp. She grew up in a sawmill camp, and my grandfather was the son of a sharecropper. And so they brought in an idea. You go to school, you focus on an education, you leave high school with a diploma, you go to school, you get a degree, you get the degree, you go get a job, you get a job with a Fortune 500 company, and you work your way up. Eventually you pay off your student loans, your student debt. If you're lucky, you might have good athletic potential or academic potential. You get scholarships if you don't have debt, but most you're going to have debt. So you pay the debt off. So by the time you get the debt paid off, you're into your 30s. Now you start working your way up, and eventually you're going to get to, back in my day when I was growing up, I'm 50, I'll be 51 next month. So when I was growing up, it was like, if you can get 70,000, 80,000 a year, you've made it. Well, now it's 6 figures. So if you get 6 figures, you made it. But the truth of the matter, have you? I know a bunch of 6-figure broke people. So it's not in the amount of money you get, it's in the amount of control you have over your financial destiny, as well as the rest of your life. I've seen people do a whole lot more with a whole lot less because they control it and it's theirs. But that's not why I'm here. So they told me that. But what we know now is just based on what's out there now. 50% of the people who go to college to get a degree ended up with jobs that didn't require the degree they had or didn't require a degree at all. So then what grandma and grandpa told me was good for them. That would have been great. To come out of it with what they expected out of it was great. But what we're learning now is we're dealing with a global economy. You can't lock in an economy locally anymore. The internet's totally eradicated that. You can't lock in an economy nationally anymore. You can move globally. You can operate. You can create businesses that operate inside and outside of the borders of the company, of the country, the state, and the city you live in. So that doesn't work. That doesn't necessarily, that's not the model anymore. The model now is to find out who you are, what you excel at naturally, refine those gifts, become great at that. Also take the time to become cognizant of your weaknesses, areas you don't function in with a great deal of fluidity and ease, and be aware of that and try to not operate through those until you learn and master them at a higher level, but find people you can trust who excel at it, and you connect. You expand your resources through connectivity. You leverage your power and your ability through connectivity. Stop trying to do it on your own. Connect with other people with like minds. Not only will you get further, but you will also have people around you who will encourage you. Speak power into your life. Speak truth into your life while holding you accountable. The hardest thing, and I can speak to this from experience, the hardest thing is no matter how gifted and skilled you are trying to get out there and do it by yourself. There's no such thing as a self-made man, self-made woman, self-made millionaire, self-made entrepreneur. That's an illusion. Somebody spoke something in your ear. Somebody gave you some advice. Somebody called a friend. Somebody came in and helped you one night when you were overwhelmed. There's no such thing. We're social creatures. We're meant to work together. There's a reason why if you take someone who's a prisoner and put them in solitary confinement, that eventually they start to lose their mind. They start to have illusions and all kind of stuff. They start to have hallucinations. Why? Because you weren't meant to be alone. You were meant to operate in a group, and you want to operate with a group that identifies with you. You want to operate with a group that has the same mindset. You want to operate with a group who's on the same frequency and creating the same vibration levels so that you can resonate and connect and synergize your power. But you've got to be willing to do it. So you can't function on old paradigms and create new realities. That's what most people are doing. They got these ideas, the lens through which they view life, and they're seeing things, and they're trying to make decisions and choices off of what they see based on an old faulty lens that doesn't work anymore. You got to be able to understand what's in front of you. You got to be willing to evolve. I remember hearing at the turn of the century, moving out of the 20th century into the 21st century, it was said, and I can't remember who said it now, but it was said that in the past, illiteracy referred to the inability to read and write and understand. And in the 21st century, illiteracy would refer to those who are not able to learn, unlearn, and relearn as time evolves and things change. That is where we're at right now. Your literacy is your ability to see what is available to you now and adapt. To be able to keep your mind open to the possibilities of what's in front of you, to never become dogmatic about anything, because what you think you know is only a fraction of what's there to be known. There used to be this point in time of arrogance in my life where I had this idea that I was going to totally conquer the knowledge of human behavior. I was going to be this guy that knew everything there was to know about human behavior. And I was successful at a certain level of just going out and I have an eidetic memory, so I can suck up information fast and learn fast. So I'm sucking it up and I'm getting it. But the problem is I'm not one to lie to myself. So what I thought was the gauntlet wasn't even the tip. What I thought was the full run and understanding of human behavior, wasn't it? What I thought was psychology, wasn't. What I thought was human behavior in the mechanisms of control, wasn't. I started out with just plain psychology. Then I went into the understanding of cognitive function in human behavior. Then I went into psycho-cybernetics. Then I went into neuroassociative conditioning. Then I went into neurological associative conditioning. Then I went into neuroplasticity, the ability to literally change who you are from the inside out by changing how you perceive things, literally changing personality types. I mean, things that were thought not to be possible. And so I eventually understood I'm never going to know everything. I'm always going to wake up and learn something new each day. That makes me better and makes me more equipped to help the people that I work with. But I'm never going to do this. And that was the first thing I learned, that. But what I couldn't do, once I came to the realization that there was more knowledge than I was capable of getting at any given time, because the knowledge is associated with the consciousness. And the consciousness of this universe is infinite. And it's available to everyone. And it's not just in books. It's in the air. It's in the thoughts. Every idea exists in the consciousness of this universe. There are reasons why certain people can literally touch people and tell them about their past or look into their future, because the future and the past always exist. It's in constant existence. And some people have a keen sense of awareness in that area. Some people can do all kinds of things. But the thing is, we all have the gift at different varying degrees, and we can refine it. You can literally reach out into the consciousness of the universe and pull ideas. That's where your resources of creativity come from. That's how your imagination works. That's how you're able to imagine things you never experienced before. That's how you're able to imagine how you want your life to be, even though you've never experienced it before. Some of the things you're imagining, you ain't never seen before. Some of it you've never heard before. So where did it come from? It came from the consciousness of the universe. You call it God, you can call it the universe, you can call it life, but it exists in everything. No matter what form that thing is in, it has a level of consciousness, energy, and matter. And it depends on what state it exists in at any time. But you have the ability, as the being that you are, to reach into the consciousness and find the answer. But you can't be a person that's supporting and engaging in dogma. Dogma will shut you down. That's the first thing I had to release, was dogma, the belief that this is the answer, this is the only answer, and nothing else can ever disprove this, because I immediately shut out growth. You cannot be stagnant and grow. You cannot say static and grow. I don't care what it is and where you're at. Anybody that's ever told you that you can stay where you're at and you're going to be perfectly safe and it's going to be all good, lied to you, put you in a position of vulnerability, put you in a position of weakness. In order to know God at any level, you got to move toward God. The more you move toward God, the more and more God reveals himself. And that God, how God reveals himself, that's you. I'm not telling you what you should believe and what you shouldn't believe, but what I'm telling you, you cannot stay stagnant and consistently get closer. And then the closer you get, the more you know. The more you know, the more you thought you know doesn't seem the same. So you got to not only get something new, now you got to go back and redefine what you knew, because what you knew is affected by what you learned. Some of y'all are talking yourself out of growth with your self-talk. Your self-talk is another way of programming yourself. I'm not good at that. I wish, saying I wish about anything is equivalent to the non-conscious brain of saying I can't do it, because that's what's interpreted. The brain is smart. It's real smart. So it interprets every language, every vernacular, every form of expression. So saying I wish, nobody wishes for something they can do. So saying I wish automatically says I can't, it would be nice, but I can't. So your brain says, okay, you can't. And you constantly tell it. Then you got external forces working with your self-talk. Say that, but by the time you're 17, you've heard you can't 150,000 times, as opposed to 5,000 times of hearing you can. Which one you think is winning out if you haven't taken the necessary actions to overcome the negativity? And negative impressions are heavy. So every time somebody dumps an I can on you, it's heavy, it's weighted. It's a lot more heavier than I can. So it's burdensome, it slows you down, it shuts you down, it puts you in a position of immobility, and you start to believe, because you can't move, that you can't do. But you're carrying a burden that you weren't born with. When you were born with the ability to imagine. You grew into the ability to imagine. We shut the imagination of our children down by telling them what they can't do, by telling them to stop daydreaming, by telling them to get their head out of the clouds, by telling them that's not being realistic, by telling them they should be more realistic with the ideas they're coming up for with their future. We try to get them to think how we're thinking, because we've been beaten down, we've been robbed, we've been shut down. And I'm going to tell you something. You need to get out of that. You need to shut that down immediately. You need to stop believing the lies of the past. If you're constantly waking up with thoughts from the past, you are never creating new thoughts for the future, and your future will look exactly like your past. You can say what you want to in a moment, but what you invest in over the course of the day is what's going to set your course of reality. Your course and your destination are going to be set on that. You can talk about what you don't want, but if you focus on it too heavily, it becomes what you consistently do. It's an automatic part of your program. Your decision-making, your choices, how you view every challenge is going to be based solely upon what you have perceived in the past and your current thinking. If you want to escape your current reality, leave your current thinking. You know, and I'm gonna say this and then I'm done. There are clients I get, with your clients, you get all types. You get people who pretty much understand the basics and they just need some guidance. You get other people that are completely on the other end of the spectrum and they just don't see anything, but they know they're desperate to get something, so they show up and they're willing to go through it. And they're the hardest to get through. Why? Because they are committed to their way of thinking. It's what mom did, it's what dad did. They take pride in their thinking. They're not really willing to release their thinking. Their thinking is what it is. And because of that, there's a sense of honor in their thinking. Because I'm doing this and this is the way you do it. But has it gotten you the results you want? But this is the way you do it. But has it gotten you the results you want? See, you can take pride in a behavior that's non-functional or antithetical when it comes to achieving a particular reality that you're looking for. I love my grandfather, I love my grandmother, but there are certain things they gave me that I had to let go of if I wanted to travel to places and do things and accomplish things that they never accomplished. I took what they gave me, I took it through a process of saying what works, what doesn't work. I lived some of it, studied some of it, got help with others, but I made up in my mind that I am not going to carry those mechanisms that don't mean anything to what I'm trying to get done. They only weigh me down. They only serve as limitations and influences against what I'm trying to create in my mind. My realities don't start when I experience them, they start when I create them in my mind. Now, I have to be willing to go through the process of manifesting them, which is what most people don't want to do. I created in my mind. There's this reality of what I am walking into, what I am growing into, what I am developing and becoming at any given moment. It's there. I created it. Now, here's the problem. Getting to it isn't that easy. Realizing it takes work. Getting to the prize requires a process. It's not something that just pops up because I thought it. It's not magic, it's physics. Yeah, I lost some of you there, and I don't have time to get into it, but yeah, it's physics, quantum physics. It's the ability to understand that matter and energy are not just synonymous, they're one and the same. At certain stages, you have matter. If you move and convert that matter, it becomes energy. But what most people don't understand is if you keep moving that energy, it becomes consciousness. If you get that energy to the zero field, that consciousness survives in its purest form. There's where we say abides the mind of God. Everything that has ever happened and will happen is known. Not only is everything that will happen and has happened known, but any and all of the what ifs. You ever ask yourself, what if I wouldn't have dated that guy? What if I wouldn't have married that guy? What if I would have stayed in school? The universe knows the answers. The consciousness knows the answers. There's nothing unknown in the consciousness or the mind of God or whatever you want to call it. But what I'm trying to tell you is the limitations that you've placed on your mind are so destructive. Living your life based on the past, especially when the past has never delivered to you the things you want, the things you desire out of life at the level you believe you deserve them. Living in that only produces more frustration, more headaches, more failure. And eventually you will get to a point where you will experience what's known as learned hopelessness. And that's where you come to the point where you realize, I've always tried it, never won, I can't. And you just give up and you accept whatever you're going through and where you're at in life as your lot in life. So many people have done that. And another form of it is vicarious learned hopelessness, where other people watch people fail over and over again and realize, I don't even want to go through that failure process. It ain't going to happen. He ain't never get it done. So you got vicarious learned hopelessness, where you watch other people struggle and fail and you just determine, well, it's not doable. Well, the thing is, we've got a history full of people who did things that were considered impossible. It's always impossible until you do it for the first time. What you ought to want to do is there ought to be one thing in life that you do, at least one thing over the course of your life that was once considered impossible, and you're the first. You're actually designed to be the first at something. But we are so programmed to follow down paths that other people created that we never explore the paths that haven't been laid yet, that require a new pioneer to step into them and open them up and go through it. And if you've ever been in a place where you were exposed to the wild for any particular period of time, you understand how paths are built, how trails are built. When you first start to walk a path, you got to have a machete, and you're chopping and you're pushing and you're prodding back. You're getting scraped up on your arms if you don't have the right type of attire on. If you got open arms, you got scrapes, and you may get some allergic reaction to certain type of plants. So you're chopping and you're moving and you're walking, and the next day you go through it, you do it again and you do it again, because that path leads to something you're trying to get to, and it's the quickest path and it's the most expeditious path, and it just makes sense. Or it may be the only path, but you got to go through it. So you're chopping and you're working, and then you look up a year from now, 2 years from now, Now you got a path that's probably 7 feet wide. Nothing touches you when you walk down it. You walk down it, you totally worn out the grass. I mean, it's solid ground. You're walking through this path, but it started with resistance. It started with everything working against you. It started with you being cut up and scraped and stuff sticking in you, stuff going in your ear, all this stuff. But if you just keep going every day, that path opens up. That's your path. You are trailblazing that path. Nobody's been down that path before. Now, many will follow behind you in that path, but you are the one that trailblazed it. But you'll never trailblaze a path if you're busy walking down somebody else's. With that being said, I'm going to get off of here. You've got to start trailblazing your own path. You've got to start making your own mind up. You've got to stop living in thoughts from the past. You've got to stop letting what somebody else whispered in your ear 30 years ago be the determining factor on what you're going to do with your life now. Be a trailblazer. Make your own path. I dare you. I dare you to start doing that. Yeah, you're going to have some rough places. You're going to have some stumbling blocks. I've been knocked down more than once. I've been flat on my back. I've been so down that people who didn't like me were celebrating because they thought I was out for the count. But I'm built for it. Why? Because I don't let any moment seize me. I refuse to get caught up in moments. My purpose, my destiny, my belief in myself are bigger than anything that I'm going to face. I'm built for this. So I get up, dust myself off, and I keep going. Now, those who wish for my demise during near 7 years ago are sitting up going like, well, damn, we can't kill it. He like a cockroach. You're damn right. As long as I'm breathing, I'm still in the fight. I don't care what I face. As long as I got breath in my body, I'm not stopping. I got two choices. I'm going to get it or die trying. Change your thinking. Get out of those old habits, those old ways. I'm going to keep it coming to you. But as for now, I'm out of here. As I always say, live your life on full. That's what I'm doing. I'm going to live my life on full so that when I leave this place, I die on E. I'm not taking anything with me, not one book, not one lecture, one speech, one counseling session, not nothing. I'm giving everything I got every day. I dare you to live life like that and then tell me at the end of it, you don't come out fulfilled. That's what you got to do. Stop wasting and giving away time. With that being said, I'm out of here. Peace.